everyone. Welcome back to the Going Scared podcast. This is your host, Jessica Honegger, founder of the social impact fashion brand Noonday Collection. Are you ready for honest and vulnerable conversations that will inspire you towards action? Join me here every week for conversations on living lives of purpose by leaving comfort and going scared. Okay, today's episode, I try not to play favorites, but this story is so inspiring and phenomenal. I am sitting down today with Ally Davidson. Ally tried out for the show American Gladiators on her wedding day. Okay, not before her wedding day, not after the honeymoon, on her wedding day. Her makeup artist was literally like, "You're running late," and she couldn't even shower after she tried out. She went on to get on the show and actually win the grand championship where they won $100,000. They were like in their early 20s at their time. She had just gotten married. And in today's episode, we talk about what she decided to do after winning that $100,000. Give it a listen. Okay, so before we get into CG, I need to hear, without missing a detail, about your wedding day and your honeymoon.
Right. Yeah, that kind of is where it all starts. So crazy story. But basically, I grew up my whole life playing sports. That was a big part of my life. I played 4 sports in high school on the varsity team, and that was my life. I loved it. I would just go from sport to sport. And so anyway, I met my now husband, Jeff. I met him playing basketball over the summer when I was 18 years old. And we started dating. And by the way, I'm from Austin, so I'm a local Austin girl. Went to Westwood High School, and he's from Dallas. And so we met kind of the summer before I went to college, and kind of hit it off. And all through college, we dated long distance. I was playing basketball in college at Ole Miss and Texas State, and he was working up in the Dallas area. So anyway, we're a long distance couple, and we were, just having fun. We were, we love stuff like going to the lake and doing adventurous outdoor sporty stuff, climbing mountains, that kind of thing. And so anyway, we're getting married, right? And so I was graduating from college, or I had just graduated the year before, and we had dated long distance for 6 years. And and the day of my wedding rolls around. We're getting married here in Austin. We actually got married on the UT campus. We're big Longhorn fans, and
love it.
Yeah. And my sister, who was my maid of honor, she runs up to me the night before the wedding, and she says, "Hey, Ally, do you want to do one last crazy thing before you get married?" And I'm like, yeah, duh. you know me. And she said, "Well, American Gladiators, the TV show, is having tryouts right down the street from your church. We should go try out for the show." And so we're thinking, oh, this is a great idea, right? And so
it's literally on your wedding day?
Yes. Yeah. So the night before the wedding, all my bridesmaids, we all spend the night. It was like a fun girls' night. We're spending the night at my parents' house. Well, we wake up early the next morning and we sneak out of the house. And nobody knows where we've gone. We've gone missing, right? And so it's like my whole bridesmaid posse. And we go down to this tryout for American Gladiators. And we get there, there's already 2,000 people in line. And my sister's like, she's like, "What have I done? You're going to sit here and wait in this line. You're going to miss your wedding." And by this time, we've already been there for a couple hours. And we're like, this is not going to work. I'm going to literally miss my wedding if we don't hurry this thing up. And so we throw on my veil and my garter, and we like run up to the front of the line. We beg the producers to let me cut to do the tryout. So I can make it to the church on time. And of course, everybody thinks I'm lying and that this is like made up, but this is real. Like I'm literally a couple hours before the wedding. And
that is insane.
Yeah, it was crazy. So they let me do the tryout. I did pretty well in the tryout, and they liked the story. Well, anyway, I just jet over to the church, and I don't even have time to take a shower. This is the like really funny part. No time to take a shower. My hairdresser's been waiting on me for like an hour. She's like, "Where have you been?" She has to do my hair really quickly. We throw on my dress just in enough time to walk down the aisle and get married. And Jeff has no idea what has been going on the whole day, but everybody else knew that we were missing.
That is amazing.
It was crazy. Yeah, it was crazy.
Okay, so tell me about the moment where you found out you made it to American Gladiators.
Yeah, so we did the wedding, and I don't tell Jeff until like the reception. I'm like, "Hey, babe, guess what I did today?" He's like, "Oh, I don't know, your hair, your makeup." I'm like, "Nope, didn't do any of that." I'm like, "I tried out for American Gladiators." And he's like, "What?" He was just very confused. And we just thought it was going to be like this, funny thing that we did on my wedding day. I didn't think anything was going to actually come of it. So anyway, we go on our honeymoon, and Jeff like is making fun of me the whole time. He's like, "Well, you better go work out. You might get chosen to be on that show." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, right." Well, anyway, like 2 days after we get back home from our honeymoon, they call from LA, and they're like, "Hey, we want you to come audition for the show." And so I'm like, "Oh, wow." And so imagine like I had just gotten married like 7 days ago, going up to my new husband and being like, "Hey, babe, remember that show?" Well, I got chosen to be on it, and I'm going to have to go to LA for 6 weeks to film this thing.
Gosh.
And so luckily he was really supportive. Well, I go to the audition process in LA, and I get a chance to talk to the executive producer, and I start telling him how athletic and amazing my new husband is. And I tell him, "Man, he should be on the show with me." And so basically I convinced the executive producer to allow my husband to come try out to be on the show with me. And so Jeff gets a call, and you'll have to one day hear his side of the story because it's hilarious. He's a financial advisor. Like, he's super athletic, but he does not like to work out like I do. He's not into, fitness like I am. He's a business guy. So he gets this call from the executive producer, and he's like, "Hey, your wife is sitting here telling me how athletic you are. And we want you to come be on the show." And they talk for a little bit. They hang up the phone. Jeff calls me immediately right after that, and he is just furious. He's like, "Why do you want me to come be on this show? You have to wear spandex, on national TV. I'm going to get beat up by all these guys that are 300 pounds. My husband is like super slim. He's 160 pounds at the time, going up against guys that are 300 pounds. And so anyway, it was really, really funny. And long story short, we both end up being on the show together. And Jeff, I competed as a female, though. Obviously he competed as a male. And Jeff did really good. And, he made it to like the quarterfinals. And I was fortunate enough to go on and win the whole show. And this was back in 2008. So it
is so crazy.
Yeah.
So had you been a fan of the show before? Like, had you studied it, and like, did you have a whole strategy going in?
Well, no, I just showed up on my wedding day to try out. I didn't know the show existed. And then of course, once I got picked for the show, of course I started studying and, working out, training to get ready for it. But I only had about 4 weeks once I actually knew that I was going to be on the show to actually prepare myself. It just all happened so fast. I mean, this is a blur. And then ever since then, life has been, very different than what we originally might have thought it would be. But it's been a lot of fun.
I hope your sister is proud of pushing you to go do something crazy on your wedding day.
Yes, she gets all the credit. I tell her that all the time.
All the credit. Okay, so what gave you the edge above all the others? Because American Gladiators, these are people that they did not have just 4 weeks. These are people that have been training. They probably been fans of the show. They'd been studying every little move for who knows how long. Why? How did you win?
Yeah, so the gladiators that you go up against, they are very, very strong. They are, a lot of them are fitness models, or they're, like I said, they're just big. The girls were, a lot stronger than me. And, same with Jeff, obviously. One of the guys in the guys division was like, he's called the Beast. He's 320 pounds and in the WWE, those are the kind of people you're going up against.
Wow.
And so we knew, we had to be agile. We had to be fast. And, we just had to be faster than these guys, because if they can't catch you, they're not going to be able to tackle you and kill you. And so that was kind of our strategy, is to not die. And so, yeah, we just, and luckily, obviously I played, basketball and volleyball and softball, through high school and college. And so I had that athleticism, and I was used to having to be quick and react in a situation. And so we use that to our advantage. And I think a big part of it, though, that people don't probably realize is when you're in those situations, you really have to learn and practice how to calm your nerves, because you're about to be on a TV show and your heart rate is so high because you're so nervous. You have to learn how to try to maintain yourself, so that you don't get so nervous that you can't perform. And so luckily,
did you harness some of those practices to make you not nervous that you had used previously, like when you're about to go up for a big volleyball tournament or something?
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of, I think one of the advantages that I did have is I had been used to playing in some big sports games throughout my life. And so I kind of knew, what it was like to have nerves and pressure. And so just being able to kind of calm those nerves, that helped prepare me a lot, for sure. But you can never be trained fully for something like that. I mean, these events,
right.
you don't even get to practice them, the events. You just get thrown out there, and really they just want to make good TV. And so you don't have a chance to practice anything. You just have to go train on your own, try to get in good shape, and then hope you don't look like an idiot on national TV.
Okay, so you become the grand champion and you win. I mean, you win some money, right?
Yeah, I won $100,000 and a new car.
Wow. Okay, so you win $100,000 in a new car. That is a lot of money when you're just newly married in your early 20s. And you could have done a lot with your winnings. So tell me the process on why you and Jeff decided to funnel that into what you now run, Camp Gladiator.
Yeah. So I won the show, and we went and celebrated that night. And luckily my family was there to get to see me win. But when you're on a reality show like that and you come home, you are not allowed to tell anybody what has happened until the show airs. Right. And so you sign all these contracts that say you won't tell anybody. And so I win the show, and the long story is really funny when you hear it, but the short version of it is literally the very next day after I won the show, I was sitting back at my normal cubicle in my normal office, back at my, normal job. And I'm like, did that just happen? I was just fighting gladiators yesterday. I won this whole TV show. And literally the next day I'm back in my cubicle at my normal job, and I cannot tell anybody what has happened for 3 months until the show airs. And so obviously this emotional roller coaster, right? If you can imagine that I'm on at this point in life, I'm like, super excited about winning, but then I'm like, well, now I'm back to my normal thing. And I just felt like at that time, God was telling me like, hey, you got to do something with this opportunity. Like, it is not every day you get chosen to be on a show, and then you let alone go win the whole thing. And I just felt something tugging at my heart. Like, I got to make something of this opportunity. This is once in a lifetime. And so we thought and prayed about it for like a month. We're like, what could we possibly do? And then, the idea kind of came to us of, well, like, hey, my passion and my background has always been in sports and fitness. That has absolutely, been my love my entire life.
And so what was the cubicle you're sitting in?
Yeah. So at the time I was working in direct mail marketing sales. So basically an ad sales rep.
Great. You're not exactly loving life in your cubicle.
Yeah. I mean, after fighting gladiators, that job is way boring after that. Okay. So I'm like, Jeff, I'm so bored at my job. He's like, well, of course you are. You're not hanging out with Hulk Hogan every day, And so yeah, I'm like, I got to do something with this. And so we come up with the idea to start an adult outdoor group fitness program. And we came up with the name Camp Gladiator. And now keep in mind, I'm 24 years old at the time. And I had trained kids and high school kids, like at sports camps, and I'd been a counselor, that sort of thing. But I had never trained an adult in fitness before. I don't think most people even know that. And because I'm pretty young, and so we're like, okay, we're going to open up this outdoor fitness program. We came up with a name. We got our friend to build us a website. We kind of got all of our, ducks in a row to get ready. And then the day the grand finale aired, we rented out a movie theater and we invited 300 of our closest friends to come watch the finale with us. And I walked into my boss's office at 5 p.m. that day and I quit my job.
My God, that's so dramatic. I love it.
So
you ran out of theater, so I think your friends are like, I think they probably won. So I think we know where this is going.
Yes. So I quit my job at 5 p.m. I show up to the movie theater, at 7 p.m. We watch me win. And I run up to the front of the movie theater and I announce, right there on the spot that I'm opening up this new business and that if they want to come work out with me, they're going to be able to at Camp Gladiator. So
what a launch. What a launch. I love that. So you obviously have a marketing brain, but I'm curious, when you're coming up with this idea and you could have done a million things, but you had honed in on fitness. What was the problem that you were trying to solve with this whole idea of adults and outdoors?
Yeah. So I think at the time, and still today, it felt like my way of kind of giving back to the community. Like there's so many people that they need help along their fitness journey, right? But what I noticed, because for about a year when after I graduated college and finished playing basketball and until I launched Camp Gladiator, I had taken different fitness classes at different gyms around town and different fitness programs. And the thing that I noticed is I could get a good workout in at a lot of places. But the thing that was missing was there was nothing more to it than that. It was never really that much fun. The trainer never knew my name. There was never community around it. And so basically kind of the light bulb idea for me is like, hey, what if I create an amazing workout, but at the same time, I create this like team environment where you feel like you're part of a family and a community and where we make it fun, and because that was, what I experienced playing so many sports growing up. And that's what I felt like was missing in fitness. And so I kind of said, we're going to combine all of that. I'm going to be a great trainer for these people. And I'm going to be more than a trainer. I'm going to live this life with them. We're going to do adventurous things together, whether it be like races on the weekend or, going to, stand up paddleboard or rock climb or go mountain climbing. And so, we kind of like just started living life together. And so that was the essence of what I felt like was missing at the time in fitness. And this was in 2008, and this is when boot camps kind of started to become popular, like in 2005 and 6 and 7. But at that time, pretty much all boot camps were like military style boot camps. And, there was a guy walking around in combat boots who was just barking orders at you like it was the military. And so I was like, well, that I can't pull that off. I'm not military. That's not my style. But I'm like, I can pull off team, fun, community, that kind of thing. So that was kind of the essence of how it was created.
It's truly, I love hearing you describe your original intent because that culture has been preserved as you guys have absolutely blown up. So I'd love to hear about the blow up because you're just like, I'm going to be the coach. And then when did you sort of pivot into, because now, I mean, your model is a little bit similar to Noondays and that we, are empowering entrepreneurs to become successful in their own right. So I'd love to hear that journey.
So I launched my first camps and I wanted to create an amazing experience, is what we kind of title it at CG. It's not just a workout. It's an experience. 60 minutes of amazing is what we call it. And so the campers, I had 40 original campers that first month. Well, I was hustling to generate, just marketing leads and meet people in the community. And then they were inviting their friends out to camp. So the next camp, and a camp is a month-long program for us. I had 60 campers. And the next month I had 80 campers. The next month I had 110. This is in my 4th month of business. At this point, Jeff and I.
And is it once a week at this point?
Yeah. So I offered a morning class and an evening class. 2 evenings a week, 3 mornings a week.
So you're at the movie theater, you make this announcement, Camp Gladiator, and your offer is come work out with me either on this morning or in this evening for 1 month. That was sort of the original camp.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
And at that time, we don't know what's in store for the future. We don't have these grand visions to change and disrupt the fitness industry, which is now what we see as possible. At that time, I was just wanting to, lead some workouts and help positively impact some other lives. Well, I had no idea that I would love it so much. And so I fell in love with training adults. And I had always kind of thought that maybe it would be really fun to, train like high school students, that kind of thing. But I found that actually I really have a niche and a love for training adults because they don't have many opportunities like kids do. And adults need this stuff. They need friends. They need, we play we have team competitions out at camp and we do all that kind of stuff. Kids get to do this stuff all day long, and adults, man, most adults, life is hard. And so I just, that I'm an adult, you are too. It's like, we need something like this. And so they were just falling in love with the program, and they were bringing their friends. And
the program that you were just kind of developing, like as you went along, you're like, well, maybe this would be fun to do, or maybe this would be fun to do.
Yes. I had many drills that bombed in the early days because I was new as a trainer myself, and so they had a lot of grace with me because I was learning how to lead this fitness class as it went. And so those were really fun times. But and so we kind of learned, I was learning what was working. They were falling in love with it, bringing their friends, and it was growing. Well, at about that 4th month mark, a couple of things happened. First off, Jeff and I, when I had 100 campers, we're like, whoa, this is actually turning into a legit little business here, right? And we're kind of looking at each other going, wow, this thing has some potential, some opportunity. By this point, I'm already making more money than I was making at my previous job just in 4 months. And so then the other thing that happened at this time period, and this was again, just, God's plan for it all, was we were living in Dallas, and I started camp in a parking lot at our church at the time. Well, Jeff got a job promotion offer to move down to Austin. And so we're in Dallas. I'm from Austin, and I knew that this would be a hit in Austin. And I'm thinking, man, I would love to be able to go back home and to start camps there. But what do we do with all these Dallas campers that I've built this business in Dallas? And we were really torn because I'm like, I don't want to leave all these campers. I got a great business that's going on here. What are we going to do if we move to Austin? And so that's kind of where the real original idea came up of, I was like, well, wow, what if this wasn't just about Ally and Ally leading workouts? What if we created, what if we basically got business partners with other trainers to come on board with us? And essentially, what if we took care of the back end headache sides of the business, doing the accounting, the legal, the, technology, maintaining the website, the insurance, the things that trainers are really terrible at doing. What if we took that load off of them? What if we did that for them, and they could focus on being a great trainer and building relationships in their community and kind of local marketing and that sort of thing? And so we essentially at that time created a business platform in which trainers could come on board and partner with us. And again, we kind of do, the back end side of the business for them so they can thrive on the field as a trainer. And if we hadn't gotten that opportunity to move to Austin, I don't know that we would have ever thought to do that. And so it was just crazy how the whole thing worked out.
So who was your first trainer that you trained?
Yeah. So this is funny as well. First trainer I brought on board was actually Jeff's best friend.
Okay.
So my husband's best friend, we bring him on board. And at this point, I'm 4 months into leading the workouts. Camp Gladiator is only revolving around Ally at this point. But we knew that you can't scale a business if it's just me being the trainer. So I had to kind of introduce to the group this new trainer I was bringing on board. And they did not know I was transitioning to Austin. I would commute back and forth frequently throughout the week over about a 6-week time period as I was launching the Austin camps and basically integrating Mason was our first trainer into the Dallas camps. And so I taught him kind of the programming that I wanted him to lead. I taught him about the culture I wanted him to foster. And he's a phenomenal guy. He's still one of our top people in our company today. And he just latched onto it. And him and I were in very close alignment. And then I brought on a third trainer because we kept growing at this point. Now we're in our 5th month. We're at like 140 campers now. So we could just keep growing. We brought on another trainer and I trained her. Her name is Amy. She's still with us, one of our key leaders today as well. And then we brought on another trainer in Dallas and, I trained them at the same time that I'm training these guys. Like I said, I was opening the Austin market and running 6 locations here as a trainer while doing that. And then also doing all the headquarters, work during the middle of the day. So.
And I'm curious about payment structure. Did you already have a clear idea, once you realize I need to multiply myself, I'm going to move to Austin? Was it immediately like, okay, this is how we can scale this organization? You figured out a compensation plan that was going to be financially viable and that was also going to be attractive. Like, how is that process?
Yeah. So, the cool, simple answer to that, what is so cool is that we literally had a handshake deal with our first trainer, Mason, and we agreed on a certain business arrangement. And for the most part, that arrangement that was agreed on between us and the first trainer is still pretty much almost exactly the same arrangement that we have today. And wow. the essence of that arrangement is that we wanted him to be a business partner with us. We wanted him to be incentivized to show up early and to stay late and to be involved in his community and do marketing events really and really be a part of attracting new campers, right? And making sales and so essentially we said, hey, we want to partner with you. We do not want to just pay you an hourly rate. We want you to be kind of in this with us. And so he was very much so incentivized to continue growing the Dallas camps while I transitioned to Austin. And again, like I said, is we were taking care of a lot of the aspects of the business that he didn't have to worry about, like the customer support, like I said, the website maintenance, anything just dealing with operations or tech or legal or finances. We handled all of that for him so that he could be a great trainer. And the end result of that was really, because he was already a trainer and he was kind of running his own small little workout groups, but he realized like, wow, this is a great deal for him. And this is a great deal for us because, like I said, trainers, they don't like doing that back end side of the business. And they're not good at that stuff. They'll admit to that. And so that's kind of where this idea of like, wow, what if we created this platform where they could kind of be operators of their own business under the CG umbrella. And so it's kind of like an operator-based model.
Okay. So then you moved to Austin and you said you're from here. So how did you go about building your market in Austin initially? Was it still grassroots or were you thinking now more like marketing, making a big Austin launch?
Yeah. So we definitely, tried and we succeeded at a pretty good Austin launch. So I launched in Dallas with 40 campers and I launched in Austin with 80 campers. I had also, obviously over those couple of months learned how to be a better trainer, learn what was working. I also was learning a lot about what was working marketing wise, how I was generating leads successfully and making sales and that sort of thing. So that was great. I give a whole presentation to all of our new trainers that come on board. And it's called a hustle presentation. And I essentially, the basis of that is that, hey, like nothing's going to be given to you. If you want to go out and grow these camps, you got to go out and you got to meet people, face to face in your local community. And you have to invite them personally to camp. And you have to, stay on them and hold them accountable until they actually show up. It is hard to get people to show up to a workout at 5 a.m. or 6 p.m. when it's 100 degrees. And so you just have to be, you have to just hustle and have this kind of grit and determination to make this thing work and grow. And so I, of course, did some marketing things here and there. I did some mailers in the beginning. And, I was also coming off, winning Gladiators. So I had the opportunity to do some interviews and speaking engagements. And of course, I used that to my full advantage as much as I could. But for the most part, pretty much every camper that I got to sign up was because I was out in my local community, meeting people, shaking their hand, inviting them out to camp, following up with them, or working marketing events. I would have a tent and a table out at like all the races on the weekends. And I would work by myself for like 4 straight hours, just meeting people and inviting them to camp. And that's, I tell all, every entrepreneur, I'm like, that's what you have to do to launch a business.
Yep.
Yep. So
I was doing the same thing. I was couch surfing. I was asking strangers to open up their homes, invite their friends in. And I feel like that's such a good message to entrepreneurs is you can't ever underestimate the power of grassroots. And then the power of grassroots, of course, is that you get to bootstrap your company and, grow it. And I'm sure it's like that's the same passion that made you successful to begin with is what's driving your success today. Okay, so your business model is just so incredible. I mean, we are similarly built in that we are wanting to drive results through independent contractors who are their own entrepreneurs, but we have a lot of inventory and we're managing supply chain. And obviously that's the whole point of our business is partnering with artisans and vulnerable communities, but it adds such a complexity. But you've created this beautiful model where you're not really managing a lot of the headaches of inventory and supply chain. You're just, and it creates such a beautiful cash flow for you to be able to do things like rent out stadiums. So I've always been just so impressed with you guys. And so I wanted to talk about how can you compare like being a CEO and your journey and learning how to be a good CEO with like the sports and the training it took to be a gladiator and what's sort of been you talked to us about your sports journey and how you won being a gladiator. How do you think you're winning at being a successful CEO?
Well, I think that, especially in the early years when we were forming our company, it's really just about making sure you have the right people, right? And especially in what we do is we are a service-based business. We are delivering a service, which is our workout, right? And I say this all the time to our new trainers that come on board. I tell them, I say, hey, there has to be a reason and a really good reason why somebody would drive past a multi-million-dollar fitness facility like a Lifetime Fitness or 24-Hour Fitness to come work out with you in a parking lot at 5 a.m. in the morning, right? Like
in 100-degree heat.
Yeah,
because
100-degree heat.
Yeah.
Like it literally makes no sense. People shouldn't do it, but there's a reason why they come work out with you in the park at 110 degrees and they don't go to the, big multi-million-dollar box facility. And that is because of the quality of the experience that we deliver. And it's the people that deliver that experience. And so therefore, if we want a great, service or product that we provide on the field, we have to have the right people. And so we just kind of knew like early on, like, whoa, like I knew when I kind of hand the reins over to Mason in Dallas, when I was transitioning to Austin, like these people, if they're going to stay, they're going to have to fall in love with Mason, right? And they're going to have to fall in love with Amy, and they're going to have to fall in love with all these other trainers so that they bring their friends and so that this thing keeps growing. And so the biggest area of focus that we try to continue to focus on, and we pride ourselves on having the best trainers in fitness, having a high brand quality trainer that represents us well. And obviously with 1,000 trainers now, that's really, really hard to do, but it's something that we feel like is fundamental to our continued success. So I think that's the biggest lesson I've learned.
How are you scaling that then? Because you, as a CEO then, I know your role has changed probably over the years as far as where you're spending your time. So at the place where you're at right now, how have you decided or where have you decided to spend your time to make the biggest impact on the business?
Yeah, that's a really
I've kind of turned this into a mentoring conversation.
No,
I'm asking for a friend.
Hey, I was going to ask you the same question. Well, you're a co-CEO as well, so that adds a whole nother layer of complexity, right?
It does. It does.
Well, so we spent a lot of time with our original kind of founding trainers, right? And we're so glad that we spent so much time with them because now it's that generation of trainers that is bringing on the next generation of trainers, right? And so now we almost have we're in like our third or fourth generation of trainers of like, as an example, Mason, the first trainer I hired, he now has hired, somebody who's hired, a couple people who, and so the main thing is if we can keep our leadership at the top really strong and focus on the right things, we feel like we can scale with great people. But that is always easier said than done because there's a lot that goes on in a business. There's a lot of distractions. There's a lot of areas you can get pulled into.
There's human beings.
There's humans. It's so hard. It's so hard. People are so flawed, but you do the best that you can. And so we've had some people that have worked out phenomenally. We've had some that haven't worked out. And I think the earlier you can realize that this person is maybe not a good fit, so therefore we should not move forward, that's always a good thing, right? And so we try to do our due diligence on the front end to make sure that we're only allowing the right people through the front door. But that doesn't always work, right? And so you have to just kind of try to do the best you can. In terms of areas of focus, oh man, my role is very, very interesting. I tell people that I pretty much feel like I have a different role as a CEO like every 6 months, right? Because the business almost has different needs every 6 months. And, in the early days.
Well, if you're growing at the rate you're growing, it does. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, in the early days, I was training a lot. I was leading 6 locations myself as a trainer and doing all the headquarters work. Obviously, I could not maintain that, so I slowly dwindled away. So I don't lead as many workouts. I lead workouts now for our trainers, and I train our trainers how to lead workouts. But that shift has kind of changed. And nowadays, my husband and I are co-CEOs. And so for about the last year, we've been trying to figure out how do we have role clarity for what we spend our time on, and how do we not step on each other's toes so that we don't have conflict, during the day, which is hard when you're married to your co-CEO.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's a whole different dynamic.
Yeah.
Although my husband is completely opposite from my business partner. So I feel like I'm managing 2 marriages. If it makes you feel any better.
That does make me feel better.
Too. Yeah. Like now I have 2 men to figure out life with,
Yes. Oh, that would be so hard. I can only handle 1.
If you have a Camp Gladiator in your state, in your town, you have to go check it out. It really is the most high energy boot camp that I have attended. If you're looking for community, fun, and attainable fitness, go check out campgladiator.com. Okay, I know. Sometimes I get a little selfish on these podcasts and I start doing this like CEO to CEO interviews. I'm like, well, how'd you do this? And how'd you figure that out? So I kind of went there today, but I hope it was helpful for you too, because whether you're a CEO or not, you can be asking yourself that question. Where am I spending my time to make the highest impact on the purpose that's been given to me in my life? And that changes. Just in the same way Ally said her business changes every 6 months, we have to continually evaluate that. But that's what I want to leave you with today. What is your purpose in this season? Where are you meant to make the highest impact? Maybe it's a season of being hyper-focused on one of your kids that may have just been diagnosed with dyslexia or have another special need. Maybe you have joined a new fitness community and you are needing a season of really being able to honor your health. Whatever it might be, I would encourage you today to think about how you are spending your time, because how we spend our days is ultimately how we spend our lives. Thanks so much for joining me on today's show. Our music is by my good friend Ellie Holcomb. Going Scared is produced by Eddie Kolpoltz, and I'm Jessica Honegger. Until next time, let's take each other by the hand and keep going scared.